We're here at the 2013 Cycling Canada AGM talking with Greg Mathieu, CEO of Cycling Canada, who, in addition to his duties as CEO, or as part of his duties as CEO, has been heavily involved in the building, I guess, of the velodrome. First of all, making sure that we did get a permanent structure, and then going forward, making sure that Cycling Canada gets as much value as possible out of the velodrome. So, Greg, can you give us a little bit of an overview of where we are at this point in terms of the development of the Milton Velodrome?
Well, obviously it's a very exciting opportunity for cycling in Canada, and we have some fantastic partners working with us. First of all, the town of Milton, who stepped up to be the host community and to be the ultimate owner of the facility. That doesn't happen overnight. They have a huge private sector group of contributors that are helping get to the level of the capital fund that the velodrome demands to be built in the Class 1 stat category that it is being built as. Probably the most significant thing now is there's a lot of thinking going into how the velodrome will operate, how our national team program will be one of the main high-performance user groups in the velodrome. Ontario Cycling will be another high-performance user group, and then there's a third entity that's called the Milton Centre for Cycling Excellence, which will sort of be the entire athlete development spectrum or pathway of athletes, with those that get to that under 17 or under 20 level stepping over into the provincial and into the national program, but being developed as around the Milton community. The velodrome itself, from a track perspective, is an outstanding facility. From Milton's perspective, they have to make sure that this facility is not perceived as only a high-performance venue, which is our viewpoint, obviously, as a high-performance user group, but also as a community-based facility that has a lot of opportunity for the community to come in and make use of it. So they've made sure that in the design elements of the velodrome, there's adequate facilities for other sports to happen in the infield area. So, for example, the infield area is hardwood floor rather than concrete. And when we have a cycling application, that floor will be covered. But in a normal day-to-day operation, the track will be functioning and that floor will be functioning with basketball, volleyball, and whatever other community uses they can put into it. They have a very large fitness facility, and that fitness facility also works off of the 300-meter running or walking track that surrounds the permanent spectator seating. So they put an awful lot of thought into the multi-purpose nature of the velodrome. So yes, it's a velodrome, but it's a great community resource facility as well.
Now, in terms of where we are, I mean, I've been down to see it, and if you go onto the Milton website, then you can, or the Pan Am Para-Pan Am website, you can see the webcam which shows you the construction, and I mean, it really is moving along. You can actually see the girders in place, the foundation, that sort of thing. What is the current status in terms of when you expect to be operational?
Well, as you've said, it's gone from that stage of pouring concrete to get everything ready to all at once. Now it's starting to be erected, and now the people of the community and those of us who get to go by every once in a while actually see it rising out of the ground, and it's quite exciting. So the intent is to have what they call substantial completion, which means by the end of August of 2014, the building will be ready to be turned over to the owner. And then they have what's called a commissioning process, which if you and I were buying a new home, we would want to make sure we walked through and made sure everything in that home worked. Well, Milton will be doing the same thing. They'll be taking over a very large venue, a pretty unique venue by their terms, and they'll be doing a walkthrough to make sure with the commissioning that everything works, and that they learn how to then bring the public into the building and how that will work. So it's not a one day, it's construction, the next day it's open. It's going to probably take 30 to 45 days to work through that process. Our general understanding from Infrastructure Ontario is that the project is currently on time, and they don't see any reason to believe that they won't be substantially completed by the end of August. So we are working with Toronto 2015 on one of two major test events that will test the functional areas that the Toronto 2015 will have to apply to the Pan American Games, and of course the Pan American Games event within the track. So we're going to have an international track challenge, as we're obligated to do as a National Cycling Federation involved in World Cup track, in the very middle of October, then our national championship 1 week after. And that's going to be the inauguration of the Velodrome as a track. And we know what we have to do in terms of technically running a cycling event. What Toronto 2015 will do is they'll add a whole bunch of functional areas that they want to test onto it. So transportation of equipment from the airport to the Velodrome, accreditation processes, ceremonial processes, accreditation processes, media, whatever they determine they want to test, they will test within this event as well. So as I say, there's a track cycling test event and there's an athletics test event, and those are the two major test events Toronto 2015 is doing, so we're really pleased with that.
And in terms of Cycling Canada moving in, I mean, I think the long-term goal is to move a lot of the technical aspects of the federation, the coaching and so on, down there as a permanent home. When do you expect that to start to happen?
Well, it already has, in a manner of speaking, because of course the great technical drivers of our emerging track program are going to be the coaches, and we've been able to secure a very high-level national endurance track coach, Craig Griffin. And Craig's already taken on his duties, and of course he's training athletes outside of the country primarily, as we've had to do leading into London. And Ian Melvin, who we've hired from Australia to take over as the national track development coach. So we have one gap left, which is the national sprint track coach, and we're working on filling that gap now. Those coaches are obligated to be in Milton residentially as of September 1st, 2014. So of course it will make more sense for them to be there when they have a place to go to work. And working with the town of Milton and with the Canadian Sport Institute Ontario, we believe we'll have a very good place to work. We'll have a permanent office space for the coaches, also for our own physiologist, and the CSIO, as it's called, Canadian Sport Institute, will have a satellite capacity out of that building to provide other sports medicine, sports science services to our high-performance athletes.
Great. Well, thanks very much. As I said, it's exciting to see that whenever I wander by, I get a chance to go by and see it's actually taking shape now and actually looks like a velodrome.
You know, it's funny. When we got to October of 2011, and the city of Hamilton said they didn't want to go forward, there was an awful lot of consternation on our part as to whether or not we'd actually have a chance at a permanent velodrome. I mean, our partners, Toronto 2015, could have said at any time, you know what, our obligation is for the Pan Am, Para-Pan Am Games. We can bring in a temporary track, run our track events for the Games, and fold it up and send it out. And to their great credit, they invested in a legacy facility for these Games. And we're very fortunate to be one of three major legacy facilities, the other two being the York University Athletics Complex and the University of Toronto Scarborough Campus Swimming Complex. And being a legacy facility gives us the feeling that we're going to have a lot of support in the time once the Games are over to keep this facility open and functioning the way we believe it has to.
Great. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.